I'm going to continue my lovely series on engineering, and really this one's going to focus on production. And I mean, for me, uh, the sound of the record has always been um, one of the stars, and um, there's just so much to know and be said on this subject that I'll miss some stuff, and I'm just gonna, I give my take and how I do things on these vlogs, and if you're interested in audio or whatever, uh, feel free to tune in or not. So I like listening to other ones when people talk about how they do things. Some people are completely and totally into it. It's like a religion to some of us. I'll say us. I'm one of those people in a way, and totally. I mean, but other people don't get it. I mean, my family, they're just not music people. They pay no attention to me or what I'm doing, and it would not impress them a bit that I, you know, some of the things I've done in the music industry, with huge people, or even on my own recently. They could care less, but other people really get into it. So, but production has been, what is production? Has been one of the stars, and for me, I used to even get annoyed when I would see a band and they didn't faithfully reproduce the record, the production. And there's a lot of stuff to tackle. I mean, a good story on production. When I first went to LA, I got hooked up with another producer. We all kind of run around in circles, and that's a good saying. We run around in circles, but in the same circles. And a guy had gotten a hold of a tape. Another thing is to get a hold of demo tapes or the original version of a song. He had gotten a hold of a version of Cindy, or it was the version of True Colors that, not even the version, it was the song True Colors. How it was originally, how it was presented for sale, by a music manager or marketing engineer for sale, and it was a stiff kind of gospel, kind of a black gospel singer, and stand up, not even grand piano, just stand up piano, and kind of a really sort of stiff performance. But what, then the Cyndi Lauper thing that came out of it, and before that I was like, it really opened my eyes, because I saw, oh, this really words and melody with a simple arrangement became this over here. And it astounded me. Before that I would get offended if I heard a Led Zeppelin song with any other arrangement, or not even performed, Led Zeppelin with another arrangement or performed by another artist. I would get sort of offended. And then I began to hear different versions of different songs, and realize, the genius of some producers is being able to take the raw. If you're going to produce music, you should be able to envision the power in the words and the melody, and how that would sound with, in a rap style, in a heavy metal style, in an orchestral style, in a ska situation, or mixing all of those together where it works. It's, the combinations are endless, and it's really my favorite thing. I mean, the thing that I do, as far as modern day production, and there's two aspects that are absolutely essential to know. There's the technical, and then there's the artistic. And I got stuff in my eyes and nose again today. A beard makes you feel itchy, but you have to understand the technical. There's just so much there. But to quickly say, for me, what I do, all the musical performances you hear are me. I do all of those things. I input the drums, I also play the drums in real life. I play the bass, actual bass guitar. All the guitars you hear are me playing the guitar. All the vocals you hear are me. And just somebody, like several people have said, "Was that you? That's incredible." Well, that's the point, is to make stuff that sounds incredible. And this lady, um, and she's just a real nuisance.
Come on. Hi there.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Yes, yes. She's nice, but just totally prone to come over and talk. But anyway, I'm usually really friendly, but when I'm on a mission, I will just shun everything. A lot of people don't get the hours this stuff takes. But the point is, all of the musical, with me, all of the musical and vocal performances are me. Let's, for instance, drums. After I input my drums via MIDI, sometimes I'll accentuate that with loops, or not usually, but sometimes. So after my drums are input via MIDI, that allows me to get hundreds of different drum arrangements instantly. This is modern day production. After I input real bass guitar, or I have a MIDI guitar I can play on, sometimes I'll play real bass guitar and then rip that to MIDI, and that way I can switch through, using the audio track, hundreds of bass sounds that I've set up in there, preset in Logic Pro. Guitars, always everything bone dry. Guitar, just electric guitar. I monitor the amps and I'm playing soaring leads and rhythms, but when you hear it played back without the amp model or amp model or plugins on it, it just sounds like little guitar. But that also allows me to switch through thousands of amp combinations of, and then I have a MIDI guitar that I play keyboards on, and so that allows me to switch through all kinds of, I can select from orchestral or rap style instruments, or metal style instruments, or Eastern, East Asia, Southeast Asia, North Asia, Northern China. It's crazy, but that's essential. And for me, the genius is in some producers, it's in their choice of arrangement, and you have to have an understanding. Someone like Rick Rubin, who produced, Johnny Cash, and then also Jay-Z, and did both brilliantly. He has an overall understanding of the technical, the clarity, the quality. And if it's not quality, people aren't going to listen to it over and over again usually. And it's like Grand Central out here today, and this guy's another kind of annoyance. I've seemed like the most antisocial human being alive. But anyway, it's, there's so much to be said on production. I'm going to miss stuff, and some people will disagree and or on this and that, but this is what goes down in the professional world, a lot of the stuff. But anyway, working in the modern day world, it allows me to, working in a sequencer, it allows me to switch through, like I said, hundreds of drum arrangements, hundreds of bass sounds, hundreds of guitar amp sounds on my performances. And for me, I'm developing a brand. I'm not offering anything for sale right now. Money is so not important to me. I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm in a lot of physical pain and have a lot of, this guy. Yeah, this guy. I have a lot of, physical issues and stuff, but and that will come. But it would be stupid of me not to do. I do things in a style and technique that I could reproduce live with a band, and that's also, for me. And I think It just is. Uh, Sort of subconsciously, consciously, and psychoacoustically, when you hear something that you know can't be reproduced live. A lot of rap songs can be like that. At first, they didn't know if they'd be able to do it live. They all use sort of backing tracks and all kinds of stuff. But if you hear something that's overdub city, especially with guitars, it in your mind you go, well, that's cool, but there's it couldn't be reproduced live, even subconsciously as a guitar player. Uh, you think, well, that's cool, but it would take 22 guitar players to do that live, literally. And so I try to, producing stuff. And my favorite records are ones where I can follow and identify with the musical lines, the drum lines, and people tend to do this and pretend they're playing the drums, the bass line, where you can clearly hear it, and it's clearly represented all the way through the guitar lines, where you can connect with the guitar, the vocals. So technically, everything needs to be able to be heard clearly. And I've talked about this. It took me the longest time to learn, because when you're young and starting to do this, it's no fun to solo a track and listen all the way through and EQ it, or compress it for hours on end. But if you don't do that, you're just mixing garbage with more garbage that won't clearly come out of the speakers. And sometimes you leave a little rough edges or fur on things, but there's just so much there. So there's the artistic side, and there's the technical side. The producer has to have an extensive knowledge, if not, the meth heads are acting up today. But an extensive knowledge of, every single thing to do with it. How music is produced up to that very day, state of the art. I follow all kinds of, mailing lists and blogs and so on, to understand what's the latest, the current state of the art. And it's something I can get pissy about too. I had a guy, I was producing for a major label, and I'm responsible for everything that goes on in the studio, and there's huge amounts of money, and he decided that he was going to, after working right beside you at a mixer, on the technical end, and also as a producer, you're responsible for the overall artistic, the style it's recorded in. Is it bone dry? Is it filled with effects? Is it a mix of both? Is it rap? Is it a mixture of orchestral rap with thrash metal guitars with Asian flutes? Who knows? That's you, and using taste and discretion is the key there. But anyway, a guy was sitting next to, and everybody gets the idea. Every artist thinks, oh, well, I can do that, And sometimes it's true. Usually it's not at all. And he's sitting next to me for weeks on end. He said, well, I'm going to mix this record. And so he really was insistent. I said, okay. And I was thinking, oh, dude, you have no idea about what's involved. It's kind of insulting to have people, you try to be kind and not be a dick about stuff. But it's kind of insulting to have people go, well, I'm producing, and even use the word connected with their name when they clearly don't know what they're doing. But he sat down. I just immediately, became a pissing contest, and I was like, okay, mix away, friend. And I just sat back in the back of the room and did something else for 3 days, and it was kind of like watching a child play with, that was given a brand new Ferrari and a high-class hooker and a bag of Coke. He has no idea where to even begin to maximize the enjoyment potential from that combo. And after 3 days, he just was like, I give up. And I was like, good, because now you've wasted, $60,000, and, that comes out of my pocket, and but he got to gain a new respect for me and sort of understand, oh, this is not like playtime. Or it's not just something you just pick up. You have to know some stuff. And I actually sat down with him and began to teach him how to mix stuff. Because everybody should, in the modern era, know how to record their own music. But, and do a great job of it. And the technology is there, and it's so cheap. But there's so much to be said on production. I'm missing it. My favorite thing is to apply, 9 Inch Nail style to Neil Young, or uh, you know, taking mixing and matching, or just taking styles and textures and applying one to the other, and the, but as a producer, you need to be able to envision a song with hundreds of different arrangements in your head. I do all the time. So I'm hearing them, and I automatically hear like an arrangement that maximizes the potential of the content, the emotional potential, and the melodic potential, and the lyric potential. Um, and a lot of this stuff, some people say it can't be learned. I think it can with practice, and I've had a lot of epic fails. A lot of the stuff I do is from epic fails, and picking an arrangement uh, and doing tasteful remixes is the hardest, because you have to really uh, a lot of times there will be more than the basic elements that you can follow. A lot of stuff going on in a mix. And I love every part, but knowing when to take stuff out. I normally record way too many guitar tracks, way too many vocal tracks, and then I'll strip it down to the drums, get them sounding great, the bass, get that sounding great, but the vocals and everything else seems to be an adjunct or a filler, to accentuate the uh, the message of the vocals, and the pulse comes from the drums and bass. Uh, Surprisingly, if there's something wrong with the mix, it's usually the way the bass locks up with the drum kit, and it's sort of like a buffer between, or a liaison between the drum kit and it's a rhythm instrument technically, but it's also the basis of your melodic, and harmonic instruments also. So it has to join together seamlessly, the drums and the guitars and the vocals, and give the whole thing a pulse. Um, and it's the easiest instrument to screw up on. I get annoyed. I play bass well, but I hate doing it. I get annoyed. It's just like, even though it's the basis of the song, a lot of times everybody wants to shred and lead, and that's the other thing with production is I ruin so many things by overplaying. Just a smattering of this here and there has more impact. Just 2 guitar notes well placed, or 3 in an entire song, but they're well placed. They have meaning. When somebody's just jerking off licks all over an entire thing, it's like it has no impact. So, looking for maximum impact, and what in certain areas of the songs, and some, I'm going to close this vlog out, but some songs, it's what you take away that matters. So that when you do have guitar appear, and I try to use guitar in everything, but when you have it appear here and there, or used properly, it has impact. That's one problem with these vlogs. I'm just sort of, unless you stick with the content, the production is sort of monotone and monotonous, and it's difficult to focus on because there's not a lot of contrast, and it seems to be about contrast. So anyway, just my thoughts on people ask me all the time. I decided to make a vlog to sort of make a blanket kind of, uh, reply, because I couldn't possibly reply to everybody. Geez, I was looking. I hadn't looked at the stats on my main site, and a lot of people lose sight of that. It's called Billy Bob Kickarilla Cash Jr. And I usually playlist the stuff from there on this site. Although, and I put a lot of stuff I'm developing. It'll get one more polish before it ends up over there from here, or ideas I don't want to lose track of. But yeah, I try to give out, how I do things, and some useful information that took me years and hard knocks to learn. But this has changed me so much, having so much contact with so many people, like, coming up on 5,000 likes and thousands of comments, and and thousands of emails, like 40,000. And people like what I'm doing. And the people, I used to get annoyed with haters or even hurt, and I don't get them, but like a couple weeks ago, uh, a couple people in the same day, in the same morning, might have been the same person. I assume everybody has 10 accounts and are playing different characters, who knows? I don't really pay much attention unless somebody becomes a nuisance, and that doesn't happen. But anyway, the couple of times that, in the last few weeks, like a couple weeks ago in the same morning, one person came by and said something, just a bunch of profanity and garbage on one of my songs, and like 10 minutes later another guy did. Every time when I go there, it was like, uh, one guy was a Zionist with all kinds of extreme Palestinian and Arab, Arab Israeli views, and the other guy was a white supremacist. And I mean, it is what it is. It's YouTube. I hope those two guys should get together and argue it out. But what it's really taught me is that you can ensure, sort of insulate yourself against being hurt by criticism by being absolutely certain that your product is good. It's well produced. It sounds good. It's artistically sound. And the way I do that is I don't get emotionally involved with stuff. I wait until I'm clear-headed before I post anything. And I used to just post everything. Oh, I'm really emotional about this song right now. I'm mixing it, and it's like, oh, dude, that's a technical disaster. Never really disastrous, but just not really good or what it could be. So anyway, it sounds terrible to say, but with people like that, and this is on the overall thing of production. In a way, I'm producing this entire project alone, unaided. But the point is that I just realized, oh, this is just so beneath me. It's so not even worth paying attention to. These people are just wackos, and overwhelmingly people have been great. But I've spoke on it more than once, and I'll say it again. It's essential to be able to learn as a producer, or as because the emotional part of it's a thing too. To be able to sort of, you have to sort of consider everything, but be able to non-emotionally go, no, I'm not going to, buy a white hood and poke holes, and I considered it for a second, but no, that's not a good career move. But what I'm saying is be able to sort of disregard the bullshit and the noise and go, well, God only knows what some of these people's objectives are, but it doesn't and should not have any impact on me. And that can be hard because the basis of really getting hurt by ugly things or haters, and I honestly don't get them that much anymore. At first, yeah, but now that it's sort of a thing and it's getting more and more people, I get way more letters of support. But the reason it hurts is because you entertain the idea, well, are these people right in some way? So being able to stand back from that objectively and not emotionally and go, I can see that criticism, but no, I'm a professional. That's really not accurate. You're just missing the point, dude. So, it is what it is. But anyway, production, it could go on, and it's what I'm all about. I love it. I love the sound of certain records. But also, one of my favorite things is to hear a new, wicked and brilliant approach that somebody does to a cover song, because it allows me, when I actually do something that comes out really good, to show you how I've experienced this thing. And it allows me, when somebody else does a great version of something, to see like, oh wow, this person has experienced that in this huge way. That's awesome. I just love that. But there's just so much stuff here, and I'm sure I missed stuff. But no, I play every musical performance on my stuff is me. But what the modern day equipment allows me to do is switch through arrangements and different instruments, different guitar amps, hundreds of different guitar amps, different bass amps, different, adding different keyboards. Any sound that you can make, I can do in Logic Pro, and but it would be defeating the purpose for me to sample vocals or something. I think somebody asked me about that a couple times, but no. Uh, and all the effects are, me. That's really my strong thing, is understanding effects and how they work and not overusing them. So anyway, a little of everything in this one. I'm happy, so, people follow me, and it's fun, and ask me questions or leave comments. I try to get back to everybody. I watch a tremendous amount of videos and don't comment because it bogs me down sometimes, and I haven't been able to reboot. Hal and Betty have been talking to each other. My two computers. Well, they've been talking to each other and Blizzy across the network. So anyway, I do actually watch a lot of videos, and I try to comment. I hit the like button, but I don't. If you've commented on my vlog, I've watched something you've done, or at least went to your site and checked it out, right? In case you're a hater. I normally, there's like almost 5,000 thumbs up and 230 down, and 150 of those came from one guy who has like 6 accounts, who really doesn't, obviously, all at once in one day, he really, really, really didn't like what I was doing, so I don't take any of it too seriously. It's only everything and nothing. And I try to keep these vlogs moving so they can become sort of a pulse of just monotony. If you pick out one line of something that's helpful, that's good, because a lot of this stuff was painful to learn. Okay. Star Trek ending. Number 1. Disengage vlog.